Well, Don Mueller, thank you for being on Heart of the City.
Well, thanks for having me.
So excited to talk today. Love Siskin. Obviously love what you guys do. I've gotten such a peek into that world through the Scout Guide, which has been really fun. But you have been a part of Siskin, CEO now for what, 2 years?
Just over 2 years, yes.
Amazing. So you stepped into a role that has about a 75-year legacy.
Yep.
How does that feel?
It's really awesome to think about all the people that have worked at Siskin in the past and all the kids they've taken care of. So it's a lot to kind of take on a 75-year-old company and figure out where you're going to go next. But it's also really exciting.
That is so exciting. So in talking about where you're going next, what does the new era of Siskin look like? Or how is it transitioning under your leadership?
So we've done a lot over the last 2 years. We've really focused in on running the business well, because the better we run the business, the more kids we can take care of.
So true.
So we have really focused in on making sure we're being as productive as possible. We're trying to keep our wait list down. When I first got there were 1,600 kids on the wait list for diagnostic assessment, which meant they were waiting 15 to 18 months to get in there. And these are kids that had already been defined as having some sort of developmental issue. So I can't imagine what it would be like to wait that long. So we've increased the number of providers. We've gotten very efficient, and we've gotten that wait list down to under 500, which means we can get people in within 2, 3, 4 months, depending upon their age.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we're looking at adding new services. We've done some strategic planning. We've hired a bunch of new board members. We've revitalized Star Night. It's thriving, and we're going to continue to grow and see as many kids as we can afford to see.
That is amazing. What is the biggest implication of what you all do for the families?
So it's all about early intervention. So when you have a child who's not developing on a typical pathway, what happens is every day your brain is getting a little harder. So when you're really young, you have a high degree of what's called neuroplasticity, which means your brain is very malleable. So every day it starts to get a little harder. It's why they say it's really hard to learn a foreign language when you get older. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It's because your brain physically changes every time you learn something. So time is of the essence when a kid is deviating from typical development. What you really want to do is define what's going on with the child, put a pathway in place, begin intensive therapy really young, so you can get that child on the right pathway.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, I can imagine early intervention is pretty much everything. So for the families that, say you're on the wait list, something's going on with your child, have they been diagnosed or told something already typically by the time they're getting to you? Like, does it take a referral, or how does that?
So a large portion of the kids we see have autism. Okay. And we see all developmental disabilities, all special needs, but a large portion have autism. And what's happening there is each day you're drifting away from typical development and you start to miss milestones. So missing the milestones is how you define when a child is developing autism, which means they're already going down the wrong track. So you really have to back up at that point and kind of get that therapy going in the right direction. So the implication is huge. If a child comes to us that's 8, 9, 10 years old and can't speak, we can teach that child how to sign. We can teach that child how to have some verbal communication, but that child will be destined to have a lifetime of support. Maybe if you get that same child at the age of 2 or even 12 months, you can significantly change that child's future. You can teach them to articulate, to be verbal. They can have, hopefully a relatively typical life. So that time window is really important.
Yeah. And what are the types of therapies you all are doing, and like the most common services that Siskin offers right now?
Sure. So we have the diagnostic team that does all the diagnostic work. And then in the same building, we do ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis. That's the primary treatment for children that are developing autism. We've got speech-language pathology. We've got occupational therapy. We've got feeding therapy. We just restarted our physical therapy program there for all types of children. And we're going to add some new services. We're going to add potty training for kids with developmental disabilities.
That's awesome.
We're working on raising some money to start that. And we're going to keep going and keep adding as much as we can. We do most of our work here in the main office in Chattanooga at 1101 Carter Street, but we also have an office in Nashville, just right next to Vanderbilt.
That's so great. So the history of Siskin, what did it start out as originally?
So Mose and Garrison had a vision to take care of children with special needs, and they took care of all children. What's really interesting, if you think back to 1950 in the South, what was going on? You had racism, you had anti-Semitism, you had all of these crazy things, and you have these two very wealthy Jewish guys who chose to take care of everybody. They didn't care
Wow.
if the kids were black, if there was a woman that was Catholic, they would take care of her. Anything that needed
Wow.
help. So really, true visionaries reaching out there and helping as many kids as they could.
That's amazing. And I feel like Siskin has really kept that vision alive, that like no one's turned away. There's not some sort of specific type of child you're only accepting or
Yeah, we have a terrible business model. Most of the children we see, 71% have Medicaid. So Medicaid pays you less than your cost of care.
man.
So if it costs you $1, they pay you like 45 cents. So on every child that has Medicaid, we're losing money. And there just aren't enough kids with commercial insurance to make that up, which get paid more than your costs. So we really rely on fundraising and community support and writing grants and doing all those things
Wow.
to keep seeing kids.
Wow. So you've been in the children's healthcare world for a long time, right? That's kind of your career path?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting kind of old.
No, that's just relative. At what point did children's healthcare kind of shift from being a career to more of a calling? I can just tell that it's more than just a career for you. So what keeps you here?
That's a great question. And I don't know the answer. I really don't. I think it's always been there. So.
You've always loved children?
So when I was working in healthcare, I was at the University of Maryland Medical Center, taking care of adults and doing managed care and like the business of healthcare.
Okay.
Then I went to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and started taking care of kids. And kids are much more fun. Like when adults get sick, they're angry and they're bitter, and it's, smoking gave me cancer. It was McDonald's made me fat. It was all these things. Kids just want to get better, so they're fun. So it's just always been fun.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
So where exactly did you start with children?
So I was at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. I was in the business world doing managed care contracting.
Okay.
So grew up as a finance guy, went to college
Nice.
for finance.
Okay.
Chose healthcare because it was a great career. There would always be kids, there would always be adults
Yeah.
that get sick. And then I got asked to go into the hospital and run transplant. So hearts, livers, lungs, kidneys, and then it became not just the business, but the actual clinical care.
This is a cause near and dear to my heart as I have served on the board for Sunrise Coalition for the last year. Every woman deserves to feel heard, supported, and cared for throughout pregnancy and postpartum. That's why the Sunrise Coalition is working to transform women's healthcare in Chattanooga and beyond. By connecting women with services like doula support, pelvic floor therapy, mental health resources, and wellness programs, they're closing the gap between the care women receive and the care women deserve. Learn more, support the mission, or find the resources you need at sunrisecoalition.org, because every mother's journey deserves a brighter beginning.
Where are the biggest gaps that still exist in healthcare for children with special needs? Like, what are the big things that we're missing now in this world?
Sure.
And
So I think the biggest gap and the biggest misunderstanding about pediatric healthcare in general is that a large portion of the kids in this country are on Medicaid, which means they're either poor or disabled. And Medicaid just doesn't pay you your cost of care. So there's a financial gap there. Because there's a financial gap in the way kids are reimbursed for care, there aren't enough doctors that
Yeah.
do what we do. There aren't enough providers because they're making a decision to go for a longer period of time in medical school to become a pediatrician or a specialist to get paid less money. So if you take a pediatric heart surgeon versus an adult heart surgeon, the adult heart surgeon gets paid a significant amount of money more because they're getting reimbursed at a higher level. So I think the biggest gap is we just don't have enough providers.
yeah,
And that's where it starts. And then if you go deeper, the way healthcare reimbursement works is if you are a surgeon or performing tests, like physical tests, you get paid more. That's valued more. Our developmental pediatricians, they talk to children, and they do a test called the ADOS, which is a diagnostic test for kids with autism. And it takes them about 90 minutes, but it's they're playing with the child to see how the child's responding to different stimuli. They'll roll the ball to see if the kid rolls back. And it's just unfortunate that it's not reimbursed at a high enough level to make a difference. And the other thing that causes is just not enough access, because if you don't have enough providers, there's just not enough access. So at the Siskin Children's Institute, we see kids from about 7 states. So that tells you just how special this place is. People are
Wow.
flying here, coming here, driving here. We partner with the Ronald McDonald House. The parents can stay there for free. But these services just aren't available in other places. And the big centers, the Vanderbilts of the world, the Children's Healthcare Atlantas, they don't employ a significant number of developmental pediatricians because they just can't afford to. We're blessed. We've got 3 great developmental pediatricians. They're very productive. They work hard. We have nurse practitioners that extend their ability to see more kids. So it's a fascinating model. And I think the biggest gap is money. Second biggest gap is not enough providers. And then comes down to just physical access and having enough people to take care of the kids.
So how, from a business standpoint, how are you all doing it? I mean, if we are one of the only places in 7 states, excuse me, offering these things, what is different about Siskin? How are we paying those providers to make it worth it? How are we giving access
That's a
to
great
families?
question. So we've done a lot of things to shore up the business. So we fixed something called the revenue cycle, which is how you get authorizations and all that insurance stuff nobody likes to talk about. We've gotten really good at that process. So we're trying to maximize the amount of money we get from the insurance companies, Medicaid, Blue Cross of the world. We've renegotiated contracts to get better, more fair payments from folks. And we're actually partnering with some of the insurance companies to teach them what is good quality therapy and what should they pay for and what shouldn't they pay for? Because there are a lot of folks out there that aren't delivering great care and they're still getting charged a lot of money for that. And that just makes it a bad market. So we're trying to partner with the insurance companies. And then the other part is just partnering with the community, getting the word out that we need help. I mean, we need money. We've got great partners with the United Way and lots of granting organizations that help us just take care of the kids.
That's so awesome. What is your kind of biggest fundraising cycle? Is it around Star Night?
So what's really interesting is if you look back at the history of Siskin Children's Institute, the Star Night Gala is like huge here in town. Everybody knows about it. And every time I bring it up, somebody says, well, who's the star this year? The problem with stars is they're expensive.
Because it used to be like you all would bring in a celebrity or a band or a musician and it would be
And it
like
was
an
great.
entertainment.
It was great, great party.
But they're expensive.
So what we've done is we got together with all the previous board chairs we could find and sat down and said, let's look at the last 10 years. Here's all the money you guys raised. This is great. Now let's look at how much the party cost. And it's a big number. So there wasn't a significant gap where the money was actually going to the kids. So we've redone it. And now it's a fundraiser where more than half the money we raise is going directly to the kids.
Awesome.
That really has invigorated the community. A lot more people want to get involved.
That's so great.
This year we've got Rodeo Disco coming out of Nashville. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Fun.
Yeah, so it's great.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I do feel like Chattanooga is a special place in the sense that we do want to know, especially when it comes to fundraising and supporting, our nonprofit community, like how much of the money is going to the cause. Because it's true, a lot of that is, it sometimes isn't always going back into the cause in the way that maybe you would hope as a donor. And how do you navigate that? Like the transparency of where funds go and how that's all allocated versus still running a business, still needing to throw a good event,
Sure. So what we do is we're very deliberate in our fundraising, and we tell people where the money's going to go. So at Star Night last year, we raised money for a technology assistance fund, and we bought communication devices for the kids, started a loaner program. So we're very direct as to what we're raising the money for, and here's where it's going, and here's the program.
That's awesome.
And then you have to build up credibility. And I think we've built up a lot of credibility that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And we do it very well and very efficiently. So, I think the lesson for not-for-profits are be transparent, talk about it. If there's something that wasn't great in the past, tell people about it, and just do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, it's so true. That authenticity is everything. Okay, so stepping into this role, did you know how many families were Medicaid families?
So I came to this role after commuting from Chattanooga to Philly for 4 years.
Oof.
So I was ready to come home. I was ready to be here. So I started looking for a job. And I knew a lot about the Siskin Institute because I used to work with them.
Okay.
When I was the CEO at the Children's Hospital at Erlanger, I got to know the folks at Siskin extremely well. I assumed it was greater than 50%. I assumed there were things we could do to make it more efficient, but probably didn't know all the things I know now about it.
Yeah.
But it's a great organization, 75 years of history, very innovative with an accepting of new technology. We're bringing some new technology to town to help diagnose kids, as young as 16 months. So it's an organization that's got great leadership. We've got a great leadership team. We've got a great board of lots of people who really know healthcare and know business and know how to run a place. So I'm really excited about the future.
I want to know a little bit about like the mind of a CEO in a role like this, because I imagine you have to make really hard decisions at times that don't always feel like the comfortable, soft, emotionally driven decisions. But you're in a very delicate and sensitive space with children's care and needs. So talk to me a little bit about navigating that as like a day-to-day CEO in a space that isn't, say, Wall Street, cutthroat. You know, you are in a children's institute. So what does that look like for you just mentally and emotionally?
So the best part about it is everybody that's there wants to be there. Like all the providers, they've decided this is what we want to do. We want to take care of kids. So it starts there. And my philosophy is to share the burden. I want everybody in our institute to know how much money we're making, how much money we're losing, how they can contribute, how they can help do better financially, how we're doing it with our fundraising goals. So we're very transparent. We sit down with all of our leaders and share the financials. We do the same through our town halls. We do quarterly town halls with all our employees. And what's been really interesting is when you share that information, people say, what can I do to make it better?
Oh,
And it's see another kid, do another this, do another that.
Yeah.
Make sure you're being as efficient and effective as possible. The other thing we do is we balance. There are private equity companies that do a lot of what we do, and their model is to everybody gets 40 hours a week worth of therapy, gets authorized for that, and everybody does this, and there's no limits. And what the insurance companies have told us is that's just not right. And what I know is the staffing ratios are crazy, and the kids just aren't getting good quality care. So what I tell my team is we want to be productive, but we also want you to have a good life and a good job. So this is the level we're going to be. We're not going to be as productive as private equity, but we're going to do it well, and we're
Yeah.
going to do it high quality. We recently got our Behavioral Health Center of Excellence Award, where you have to prove not only you're good at therapy, but you're also good at HR and the business and all other aspects of running a good not-for-profit. So we're really proud of that. But I think what it comes down to is just being transparent. It
Yeah.
just makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah. What does an average day in your life look like? Are you behind a desk? Are you
Every day is different.
Okay.
I've got a great team. I've got a great COO, Alan Bible. He helps run the place on a day-to-day basis, which actually affords me the opportunity to go out and make connections in the community. So a large portion of what I do is educate people on what we do at Siskin. And, we tell them, here's what we are doing, here's our challenges, and here's how you can help. So I spend a lot of time having breakfast with people, having lunches with people, participating in other not-for-profit organizations in town to get the word out. So my days are always different, and it really just depends on what's on the schedule for that week. We've got board meetings every quarter and lots of committee meetings, so getting those organized. So that takes, every once in a while you got to go into kind of board mode and do all that. But it's really fun. I mean, it's a great job.
That's so cool. As far as your board, let's talk a bit about how a board operates in an institution like this. What is the responsibility of a board member?
Sure. So the key responsibility of a board is to hire the CEO and then hold them accountable for different things. So it always starts with governance. You have to have good governance. So good bylaws, good governing documents. Mose and Garrison did an amazing job with the bylaws they wrote. We've done some amendments since then just to kind of modernize them, but they did a great job setting up that foundation. You hire a board chair who then oversees the hiring and the governance of all the other board members. I think the important thing is that the board members are active, they're attentive, and what we try to do is get board members from different areas of business that can help you. So we've got, we just hired a board member recently, Mary Stewart Lewis, who's got a background in government relations. We've got Cynthia Dale, who's an amazing fundraiser.
This episode is brought to you by Siskin Children's Institute. For more than 75 years, Siskin has helped children with developmental disabilities and special needs reach their fullest potential. From developmental evaluations and autism services to speech, occupational, physical, and feeding therapies, Siskin provides evidence-based care that changes lives every day. Learn how you can support their mission or access services for your family at siskin.org. And stay tuned right here on Heart of the City to hear my recent interview with the CEO of Siskin to learn more about the in-depth ways they support families in our community and beyond.
So how does it feel? I mean, I'm sure it's probably a nice change of pace almost, I would assume, to go from, your role where you're making all the decisions and but then in those board meetings to almost be surrounded again with people who push you in ways and maybe are, doing things that, not that your day-to-day people aren't inspiring you, but I feel like that's kind of a cool jump in, jump out. You have your board meetings where you're kind of surrounded by these like super versatile, really successful, people in their own realms. And then, how do you walk away with inspiration from that?
So the best thing about having really good, competent board members is you can rely on them, not just at the board meetings, but I call them on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
when I have questions. And it's great to have people to talk to. Mm-hmm. So I called Pat Magoon the other day. I had a governance question on how to get something done. We spent 20 minutes on the phone, and he gave me great direction, and we were able to get something done.
Wow.
I sent some documents last night to Bruce Comiskey to look at the way we market our institute and get his thoughts and ideas, because he's built a dozen children's hospitals and knows how to do signage. And
So cool.
yeah, it's fun.
That's really fun. Okay, can you tell me a time that feels very stand out in your mind where you have specifically just like really advocated for a family or a child? You've really gone to bat for them, whether it's been you specifically or your team. Like, I just would love to hear a story or two that feels like it really stands out.
Sure. So there are new stories every day at Siskin, new kids that are coming on board and starting their therapies. Some that graduate is always great when they graduate and they're doing really well. One of the things that happens quite often is we'll get a call from a parent who just doesn't know what to do. And we've got a group of people that run the Family Voices program. And what they do is they connect them with the resources they need.
Wow.
So they'll navigate, a child will call from out of town or a rural area who needs a diagnostic appointment. We'll talk them through what that looks like. We'll set them up on the list and get them in as quickly as possible. And then what we'll do is tell them, here are the resources you can start with, even before you come in for the diagnostic work.
So awesome.
So give them, the parents, the ability to start beginning intervention in some way. Get them in for the appointment as quickly as possible. I mentioned the partnership with the Ronald McDonald House where they can come from out of town and stay there for free.
Yeah.
And then, once they get the diagnosis, really figuring out what's the best pathway for them. Mm-hmm. We cannot take care of every child. So we've got great partners like the Chattanooga Autism Center and other great therapy programs that we can refer to if we don't have an opening right away. So we become kind of a community liaison that not only takes care of the kids at Siskin, but we're helping to refer out or figure out what's the best pathway for those families. And that happens every day and
That's
multiple
so
times a day.
awesome.
I think we get 75 diagnostic requests a week. Wow. So just think of the volume of people that have this problem. And we're just trying to help everybody navigate how to get the best out of their child.
Wow. How many families, and maybe this is a bit of a naive question on my end, but is there an out-of-pocket component to your services?
So the answer is yes, and it depends on your insurance.
Okay.
So if you have Medicaid, there's no out-of-pocket expense.
Yes.
But in the current insurance world, there are copays and deductibles and things like that, and we do have to collect those.
Yep.
We do have ways to help people with that if they've got problems, and good partners out there in the not-for-profit world that help as well. But that's the way insurance works. If you want to see kids, you got to charge people for what you do where it's appropriate. But we always find a way to take care of kids.
And the way to kind of help families that do have out-of-pocket expenses, is it like almost like a financial aid program, if you will, or how does that work in your world?
Well, there are financial scholarships we can give them to help. There are other agencies in town that will step in and help pay for copays and deductibles when it's needed. But that's just the reality of where our world is.
Yeah.
Insurance is expensive and life is expensive. And, 71% of our kids have Medicaid, so there's no out-of-pocket expense for them.
Yeah.
Another part of what we do is we try to identify if a child qualifies for some level of support, whether it's Katie Beckett, which is another support program. So we do a financial counseling session with the families to make sure that they're maximizing, what's available out there for them.
Wow. That's so awesome. You guys are just such a robust resource for families that really are in such a vulnerable spot. You know, they probably, a lot of them come in and have very little knowledge of what's going on with their child, and how scary, you know, and for you all to be a safe place in that way is just so incredible. That's so cool.
You know, an interesting aspect of what we do is I get calls from grandparents all the time who say, something's wrong with my grandchild. Can you talk to the kid's parents? And the reason is grandparents have had the luxury of watching other children grow up.
Yeah.
When you're a first-time parent, you don't know what's wrong.
So true.
And, you know, I tell everybody, if you have any concern at all, go to your pediatrician right away.
Yes.
Don't wait.
Yes.
If your pediatrician says, well, it's just a boy, let's wait. You know, if you're not feeling comfortable with it, you know, seek additional help, seek additional
Totally.
care.
Second opinion.
Call
Yes.
us. You know, we're there to help. There are great pediatricians in town here that are good partners for us, that refer kids in all the time. So we've got a great relationship with them. But, you know, it's really interesting because a lot of the children who come to us, the parents don't know exactly what's wrong. And we're trying to say, all right, here's where you are in the cycle. Here are the milestones they are missing. And here's what we're going to do about it to get them back on track. We're working on some new technology and implementing. It's called Early Point. And it's a video diagnostic where you basically take an iPad that has videos on it of social interaction, and you use eye tracking to see what the child's paying attention to.
Oh my gosh.
So when you and I communicate, we spend the majority of time looking at each other in the face, because what's happening is you're seeing my mouth move, you're hearing these words come out, you're associating that with language, and that becomes the foundation of which you learn to speak.
Wow.
Kids with autism are watching the camera or watching the lights or watching objects and not paying attention to you as a person. So in every moment, they are not learning what language and speech and communication looks like.
Wow.
And one of the telltale signs is they just don't make eye contact. So what this group has done over the last 2 decades is they've done testing on thousands of children that were typical and kids that were developing autism, and then they've normed, you know, which kids are developing problems by looking at these videos. So
That is incredible. And
It's
you all
amazing.
are developing that?
no, so I worked in Atlanta at the Marcus Autism Center alongside with Dr. Ami Klin, who pioneered this.
Wow.
We recruited him from the Yale Child Study Center to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, partnered with Bernie Marcus, who was the co-founder of Home Depot. Those organizations and others in Atlanta put millions of dollars into developing this tool. It's now FDA cleared, and we did a trial in January. What we did is we tested 18 or 17 kids with the device. We did not tell our developmental pediatricians what the device said. We let them test the children, and it matched up 100%.
Whoa, Dawn,
So-
that's amazing.
Well, and for the first time, you've got a diagnostic tool that clinicians can use to definitively say this child is developing autism at a very young age. So the problem is there's no code to bill for it. So it costs us about $250, $300 every time we run that test, and there's no money for it. We can't bill an insurance company for it. So one of the things we did is set up a fund from Star Night last year to help offset that loss and that cost of that device. We would love to do more, and we're going to seek some government grants to help fund it as well, and potential partnerships with some insurance companies.
That's awesome.
Well, it's awesome because you can now definitively tell a 16-month-old is developing autism
Yeah.
and not further missing milestones.
Well, and you don't, I mean, is it still monitored by a practitioner in the room while it's happening, or does that kind of replace the need for having to staff, like, say, a full one-on-one with a practitioner?
So the way the device works is you can train a medical assistant to administer,
Nice.
and it takes about 20 minutes to do the test. Then it spits out a report about 20 minutes later that looks at different domains of the child's development, social, verbal, cognition. But you will always need a physician to make that diagnosis.
Of course, read
And
the
the analogy
results.
is if you took a test for cancer, you wouldn't want to just get the results.
No.
You want to talk to
Of
a
course.
clinician. You want to have them explain it to you. So the role of the clinician is always going to be there. But what this does is give a tool. The other thing it does is it gives parents something they can hold on to, because there are times where, you know, the dad might have said, well, the kid was just having a bad day when they
They
did the
don't want to
developmental
believe it.
testing. Right?
Yeah.
And you hand them that report, and they can see that the child was not paying attention
Yeah.
to the right things in the report. So it's a great tool, and
That's
we
awesome.
we continue to let our clinicians use it now, even though there's no reimbursement for it.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so coming from Atlanta, where you've worked in Philly, you've been in other cities, bigger cities. How does Chattanooga compare, you know, from a community support fundraising standpoint? I mean, what have maybe some of the challenges been, and what have maybe some of the pleasantries been of Chattanooga community?
So in Atlanta, there's a lot of old money, Coca-Cola money, Home Depot money, UPS money.
Yeah.
If you worked as an assistant, secretary at Home Depot when it started, you got stock options, you're a millionaire.
Oof.
So it's a different ball game. There's a lot of money in Chattanooga, and it's a community that likes to support good causes. The good thing about Chattanooga is if you build your reputation up and people know you're doing good work, money starts to come and people start supporting you. And so it's easier to get the word out about what you're doing and about the needs. And Siskin's been here for 75 years. So it's got a great brand, a great name, good stewards of the resources people donate to us. And so that part's a lot easier. But I love Chattanooga. It's an amazing town for 1,000 reasons. And I'm the biggest fan you could ever have.
I love that. Would you say the biggest ways that you gain people's support is still through that like person to person connection?
So we've been fortunate. We were invited to present at the Kiwanis, at Civitans, at Rotary, at all these civic events. The number of people that are involved in civic organizations in this town, but the proportion is huge. So that's a great mechanism to get the word out about what we're doing and how we're doing. And we like to give people updates. So it's not unusual for me to reach out to people every once in a while, just let me tell you what we're doing.
That's awesome.
Whether it's the Community Foundation or United Way or others. So it's a great town to get the word out, and it's a great place.
Looking for inspiration, artistry, and community right here in Chattanooga? Discover Chattanooga Ballet, the city's only professional ballet company. From breathtaking performances that blend classical and contemporary dance to exceptional training for dancers of all ages, Chattanooga Ballet serves our community through the power of movement. For more than 50 years, they've been inspiring audiences, educating students, and bringing world-class dance to the scenic city. Learn more, register for classes, or grab tickets to an upcoming performance at chaballet.org. That's CHABALLET.org.
What do you think? What is something that maybe families of children of special needs carry that a lot of people may not know or see?
Well, every child's unique and different, and every circumstance is different, and every child responds differently to therapy. There's no one answer for everything. So what I see in parents is the desire for their child to have the best life they could potentially have.
Totally.
And that may look different if you've got a special needs child. That doesn't mean it's bad or worse. It's just different. And I think there's a time period where parents have to reconcile that. We've got some great parent support groups and parent advisory boards that work together to help parents, the new parents, when a child is first diagnosed, to say this is what the future could look like. And this is the good parts and this is the bad parts. So I think the good news about a place like Siskin is we make those connections to other folks that can help parents, figure out what the child's life's going to look like. The biggest fear for special needs parents who have kids with special needs is who's going to take care of my child when I'm gone. So a lot of it is figuring out who's going to be in charge, what's the financial stewardship plan, how do we make sure they have the resources they need? Because a lot of these children live long lives and outlive their parents.
And what does that look like? I mean, what do you all help parents with, or what is prep for that?
Our primary focus is younger children. So we focus in on trying to get kids diagnosed early and do that. So we don't see them when they go off to college or do those other things. What we try to do is prepare them for those different transition points in life. We're also working with a lot of educational institutions in town to learn about what they're doing. How do you have a college experience for a child that's on the spectrum?
Yeah.
What does that look like? There's some great programs at Chat State and UTC and other folks. So, for us, we're looking at the long game, but our role is get to them early, help them as much as you can, put them on the right track, give the parents the resources, and then transition.
Love it. For a family that's just starting to navigate this process of a diagnosis, what would you want them to hear?
Early is important, and I can't overemphasize the early intervention issue. So if you're concerned, see your pediatrician right away. Talk to them about what your concerns are. The CDC has got a great website that talks about the milestones every child should have. When should they start walking? When should they start talking? When should they start babbling? If they start missing some of those events, get to your pediatrician as quickly as possible. Tell them what your concerns are. The pediatricians will make a referral or not. And if they don't, and you're still concerned, seek a second opinion and just be the advocate for your child.
What maybe would be a success story that stands out in your mind, or a really special graduate, kind of anecdote that you would want to share with a family that might feel a little discouraged right now?
So I've seen children who come in who wear helmets. They're beating their heads in the ground because they can't communicate. To become self-injurious, or they get frustrated because they can't communicate their wants, needs, and desires. I've seen these kids go from that to fully verbal, that come sit in my office and have a conversation with me, and then they're
Wow.
off. So there's a lot of hope.
Wow, that's incredible. Oof. And what would you say is like the average age span that work happens? Like, when do you typically start seeing a child to when they graduate?
So every child is different, and it really depends on where they are when we start, and then when it's appropriate to switch to something else. So we focus on really young children, getting them the diagnosis they need. We've got a program called the Tennessee Early Intervention System, where we can see kids from 0 to 3 in their homes or in their church or wherever that kid is.
Wow.
We've got 30 providers we send out to 5 counties. That becomes the first line of defense. In the state of Tennessee, they've done something amazing, which is if you're in that Tennessee Early Intervention Program before the age of 3, you can actually stay until you're 5 now. No place else in the country is doing that, which is amazing. But then we partner with the school system and make sure that we've got appropriate transitions. We're having conversations with Hamilton County about potentially partnering together to streamline the diagnostic process. They're doing some of the same tests we're doing. Why not do them together? Why not share
Right.
information? So
That's
I think there's
awesome.
some great things. Justin Robertson is a great superintendent. He's doing great work. He's a great partner. We just want to set kids up for success.
And is there a certain age in which you just they don't fit into your specialty anymore? Like, even if they don't graduate your program, you transition them to something else because they age out?
So the majority of kids we take care of are under the age of 12.
Okay.
There are kids we see that are older
Yeah.
for certain things and certain reasons. But by the time the kids get to be that age, there are a lot of other people in town that can help them. Our developmental pediatricians are really good at working with the small kids and the babies and doing that. Once they get older, there are systems in the school system. There are other partners like the Chattanooga Autism Center and other places these kids can go. And usually by the time the kids are at school age, they've gotten their diagnosis and they're kind of on their way.
Yeah. If a child is being seen at Siskin, are a lot of them also doing other appointments, and are they finding resources elsewhere in tandem, or is what you're offering typically all that they're needing for that period of time?
So we are very unique in the fact that we've got a very comprehensive program
Okay.
that includes ABA, Applied
what it
Behavioral
sounds like,
Analytics,
yeah.
PT, OT, Speech. So we can take care of a lot of things there at Siskin at once. But that doesn't mean we don't have children that we partner with other organizations where they might deliver some services, we might deliver some services. We're very open to partnerships with other people, and there will never be enough resources for kids. So I don't believe there's anything like competition when you're talking about special needs kids.
No.
We're all
Goodness.
taking care of these kids. We're all struggling to make money because
Wow.
we're, getting paid by Medicaid.
Yeah.
So, partnership is the only way to do it.
Totally. When I engaged with a number of the kids for their photo shoot, it was just, such a special experience. How do you feel like that, being around children with special needs, being in that environment, all the families? I just remember it stood out so much. They are so gracious. They are so kind. They're so patient. I mean, you truly are like, these families are some of the most beautiful souls that you're ever going to meet, because they are so just conditioned in a different way to raise and love and, be at the level that they need to be to have these children. So how do you feel like that softens you? How do you feel like that kind of, in your role, like, again, you just having to have this like business hat on a lot of times. How do you feel like that juxtaposition works for your day to day?
So first of all, the partnership with the Scout Guide is absolutely amazing. And what
thank
you
you.
guys did with those kids and take the pictures,
So
amazing.
sweet.
Like
I
they're,
mean-
they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think the parents are have so much gratitude for that opportunity, and they were excited about it. I
So
mean,
sweet.
this huge professional photography session where the kids look amazing and it gets shared. You put them on the table for a year or two, and it's just it's a great thing for the families, and they enjoy it. I can tell you the folks at Siskin enjoy it. All the providers love looking.
I was
at
not
those
meaning
things.
the Scout Guide experience. You are
No, it's
very
great.
kind to say that. I
Yeah.
more mean your That is so nice of you, Dawn. But I just more mean like your day-to-day interaction with families like this, and seeing that kind of just like really precious and vulnerable side to life. And then, in the juxtaposition of being a CEO and still running a business, where does that line get drawn in your mind? I mean, are you every day having to draw a boundary, or are you just like, no, like this, I don't know. I guess I just feel like I'm so torn thinking of your role. It's like being around that all the time. I am a very tender heart though. And so it's like, how do you navigate just still having to have that business brain on day in and day out?
So I guess the good news for me is the better we do at the business of what we do, the more kids we can take
That
care
is
of.
true.
So it's,
That is true.
to me, it's all the same. But it's great to be around these families. I think what the Siskin Children's Institute is, we provide hope.
Yeah. Yeah. 1000%. And I can imagine that's going to be your answer to my last question, which we're getting to soon.
Are you looking for a gym that actually feels personal? I can attest, as a proud member of Forte Fitness for the last 7 years, you're not just another membership number. Forte combines expert coaching, personalized training, and a supportive community to help you get stronger, healthier, and more confident, without all the gimmicks. Whether you're just getting started or ready to take your fitness journey to the next level, their trainers meet you where you are and help you get sustainable results that last. Schedule your complimentary consultation today at forte.fitness. Come as you are, get where you want to be.
Let's pivot to leadership and just decision making. Because again, as a CEO, I have just so much respect and I'm so interested in what are some of the qualities you see in some of the best decision makers you've ever been in the room with?
So I think the biggest and most important job of any CEO is to hire good people. And I try to hire people that are smarter than me and better than me and just let them go do their jobs.
Yeah.
And that's
Amen.
the key. In the pediatric world, you have to have a heart of service and you have to like kids. If you don't like kids, you shouldn't get into pediatrics.
Nope.
So I think it starts there. I think you want decision makers who always put the child first because there's always a solution that's going to help a child if you kind of think through it and make that happen. So figuring out who's got the heart of service, who has a good business background, and how they make their decisions, and a high degree of transparency. I don't want anybody working with me that's not able to come into my office and say, we have a problem.
Yep.
So people that are willing to tell you the good stuff and the bad stuff, those are the most important people.
From your experience, what is something that maybe people think is really important when it comes to leadership, but maybe doesn't matter as much?
So I think a lot of people look at titles and they look at where you've worked. I'm more interested in the work you've done and what your results were. So a lot of people spend their career chasing the brand and not the job. So
Yeah.
and you want people that want to work. You want people that want to show up early. You want people that want to work hard. You want people that have a balance in their life and, can rejuvenate.
So true.
The last thing you want is somebody's going to burn out. So
true.
finding people that can balance. And you spend a lot of time with people at work. So you want to have people that are fun. Like you want to
Yeah.
enjoy your time together.
That's so true. Your work people become family in a lot of ways. So it is important you enjoy those people.
So one thing I have learned is that it's not good to refer to everybody at work as your family
Yeah.
because you can't fire your sister. You can't fire your brother.
That's true. That is a very different relationship.
Yes. So making sure you have boundaries at work
Yeah,
where work is
absolutely.
work and family's family is important.
That's very true. Good call. That's a good line. Okay, so in the really complex environments you've led in, what's maybe a decision you've made that's felt really risky and paid off?
So when I was working in Philadelphia, I worked for St. Christopher's Hospital for Children. It was losing $97 million a year.
Wow.
And we made a bet and went out and partnered with all of these great academic organizations and insurance companies and other hospitals. And we said, we need help. And if we go away, here are the implications. We were able to raise $52 million that helped us do payroll for a couple of years.
Wow.
And then began really working hard on coming up with a long-term sustainable plan by working with the legislature and government officials and telling the story. And it worked. We ended
That's
up getting
amazing.
$118 million a year in supplemental funding for the next 5 years. So that was a big bet. And the community up there really stepped up and helped. The insurance company, Blue Cross up there, did a great job. The other hospitals, all those CEOs took the bet and they put their dollars where their bet was, and it paid off. So
My
that place is
gosh.
still doing great.
That's insane. Good for you. That's amazing. What is the biggest, obviously, this can stay, we won't name any names, but what is the biggest dollar amount donation you've received since working at Siskin Children's in Chattanooga?
We received a grant that was $300,000 over a 3-year time period. It was from United Way. It's called an impact grant, where we were partnering with them, and we're one of 19 agencies that got a grant, and we get together as a cohort on a regular basis and share what's working and making sure we're working on a multi-generational approach to helping people in this community.
So cool.
So that's been a really important one. But really the biggest donation that's ever happened is from Mose and Garrison Siskin.
Wow.
They made a bet and helped us set up an endowment. If it were not for that endowment, we wouldn't be here. But we're, even though we have the endowment, we're still struggling to see as many kids as we can. So we need community support.
Speaking of community support, is there a business or a name that comes to mind that, if we're just maybe in the realm of manifestation today, is there someone that you're like, man, I really feel and see that there could be a partnership here. I would love to connect more with them. Or, is there someone in town that just feels like a really great fit potentially and that you'd want a broader conversation with?
So that's a great question. And the good news is that in this town, we've had an opportunity to talk to just about everybody.
Wow.
But there are always more.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting last night with the United Way where we were pulling together the cabinet for their campaign this year. And most of the people in that room I didn't know. I mean, they were
Wow.
CEOs of manufacturing companies. They were CEOs of law firms. So I think by becoming the co-chair for the United Way campaign this year, I'm getting exposed to a whole new side of Chattanooga that I never had the opportunity to work with. And, we're a good partner for people that care about kids and people that want to make a difference in the community. So it really depends on what they want. I don't spend time asking for money. What I do is I tell people what we're doing, give them the opportunity to invest in the kids that we're taking care of, and tell them how we're going to do it. And if they want to step up and do it, it's great.
That's awesome. So that's an interesting approach to fundraising. Has it always been like that for you?
So I learned fundraising when I was at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And what I realized is, as an executive in the hospital, my job was to make it as easy as possible for the foundation to introduce me to donors and to tell my story. So what I realized is, if we are good at telling the story, if we have a good mission and good vision and values, people in this community, they'll donate money.
Yeah.
So my approach has always been from the business side. If I need to build something or grow something or do something, my job is to get there and tell people what the opportunity is and sell it and see if they want to invest in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Storytelling over selling.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, talk a little bit about the different Siskin names in town.
Sure. So there are 3 Siskins in town. It all started with Siskin Steel. So Siskin Steel was started by Robert Siskin. He was an immigrant from Lithuania. He came to town and was a peddler, saw smokestacks in the town and thought this would be a good place to start a business. He started a scrap metal business that turned into Siskin Steel. When he passed away, he left it to Mose and Garrison, his 2 sons. They really took that steel company and turned it into an international player. So that was the corpus for the money that resulted in the 3 entities. So there's Siskin Steel, then there's the Siskin Rehab Hospital, which bears the Siskin name, and then there's Siskin Children's Institute. 3 very distinct organizations, no governing structure between us.
Wow.
I know the CEOs at all those places. We're good friends. We do work together, but there's no governance overlap.
Okay.
All separate organizations, separate bylaws, but all supportive of each other.
That's awesome. So cool. What history. How has being a parent personally shaped the way you operate in the children's healthcare space?
So being a parent, you learn what's important. And the best advice I ever got was from my wife. I asked her, I said, if you needed to wait for a specialty appointment, how long would you wait? And she said, Don, I don't even care if you're the CEO. If my kid needs something, I'm not waiting any more than a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to Vanderbilt, I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going somewhere else. So that really helped me learn that time is important and healthcare is important, and there are parameters. People with means will travel, and when you're taking care of so many kids with Medicaid, you need to be a comfortable place for paying patients, for
so
commercial
true.
patients. So making sure that you have access has really been a big part of my career.
That's awesome. That's so true. What would make you feel at the end of this role? What would make you feel like you did this work really well?
So my vision for the Siskin Children's Institute is to take care of as many kids as we possibly can. So because of my background in children's hospitals, I believe we've got the opportunity to expand and grow and take care of more kids in a bigger region. So we're talking to East Tennessee Children's, which is now Dolly Parton Children's. We're talking to
Nice.
Vanderbilt. We're talking to the folks in Memphis. We are really thinking about a more regional approach to what we do, but that's going to take money. So it's going to take people in those communities stepping up and saying we want to add these services as well. Most children's hospitals don't do what we do. They don't provide behavioral health at the level at which we do for these very young children that can help transform their communities. So my goal is to help us do more. And really there's no, one of the things I learned from Bernie Marcus at Home Depot is scale it as big as you can. There's no reason to stop. Just as long as you come up with a model that makes sense and can make it grow and have the financial means to do it, just go for it.
Man, what advice. That's awesome. All right, the closing question that I ask everybody, I need you to fill in the blank.
Right.
The heart of Siskin Children's Institute is
Is the providers. Yep.
providers, for sure. That's insane. Well, such a special line of work that you're in. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for making Siskin better every day and making it available for all the kids in Chattanooga and beyond. Thanks
Well, thank you for being so supportive of Siskin, and thanks for your
course.
great work with the Scout Guide.
Thanks, and thanks for being here.